As we know, like we're reaching we already reached December, which is like the last month of the year. So to summarize, how will we summarize 2016? Most would identify 2016 as the year of the presidential election. And I know most of you guys are age to like register and vote. Can I have a show of hands? How many of you guys registered and voted? Okay, so the majority of you guys voted. And another show of hands, how many of you guys were aware of like what you guys were voting? Like, I'm not saying like you guys are right or wrong, but like I'm just saying like how many of you guys were aware of what were you guys voting, like pro or con on what you guys were voting for? That's a good like show of hands. So 2016 was the presidential election. The two presidential nominees were debating for months with the campaign trail. Most topics were topics widely known as like terrorists, like on the view of that. And what I want to talk about today is a topic that they were focusing on a lot, which was women's health care issues. And we know that the ballots came in, and now many women, as you see in social media or in news, that women are in fear, or before President Barack Obama leaves office, most of them are racing towards health clinics in fear of like losing birth control or contraceptive. So today I want to argue in favor that we should have free and legal access to these women's like health clinics, so, like organizations such as Planned Parenthood. So today I want to outline the right to have Planned Parenthood and how we should protect it so it can benefit us, majority of women, but also us young adults. And lastly, what these clinics, Planned Parenthoods, are about. So first of all, some women or some males were in favor of Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton was one of the only, the first candidate in the presidential campaign trail to be in favor of Planned Parenthood. She argued that many women should have the right to choose whether to have these women's reproductive services. They should be free and affordable for them. But like other candidates, such as Donald Trump, he argued that we should defund these Planned Parenthood clinics because he said that that we shouldn't be associated with them, or the government shouldn't be associated with them. But in my opinion, I feel like we should be in favor of what Hillary Clinton said as her statement, that these women should have the choice, and whether they are pro or con against it, like Planned Parenthood or these birth controls or abortion, they should at least have a choice. And she stated one debate that she believes that the rights of women and girls is an unfinished business in the 21st century, because right now and in her career as senator and in the White House, Hillary Clinton had many attempts to disband bills that were coming through that were stating that we should defund organizations such as Planned Parenthood. And second, I want to talk about how her view on Planned Parenthood or these clinics. Throughout her whole trail, we were as us, as young adults, we look at our news on social media, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. So Hillary Clinton put most of her information on social media since she was targeting some young adults in her campaign trail. And on her social media, it showed that she was a vocal and persistent supporter of Planned Parenthood. And again, as I stated, that she was the only one in her campaign or in the campaign trail to be a supporter of Planned Parenthood. And she also talked about, as she was supporting Planned Parenthood, that that many populations should stop attacking these clinics of Planned Parenthood, since most people, when they think of Planned Parenthood, they straight immediately think of abortion, but Planned Parenthood is not all about abortion. Planned Parenthood, as is stated on the website, Planned Parenthood is 3% abortion services. So lastly, on to what Planned Parenthood is. Planned Parenthood is not just all about abortion. Planned Parenthood is also not just for women, but it's also for young individuals, young teens, men, women, and it's globally accessed. And I feel that we should be in favor of having Planned Parenthood because it also acts as sex educators, and also it has information and services that have birth control and also STD treatments. So in conclusion, I state that getting rid of health clinics for reproductive service such as Planned Parenthood is not beneficial for us as a nation, because I believe that the politicians that do support it, these organizations are taking women's health care rights, and our rights are in our favor, and because they're letting us choose if we do want these services rather than defunding them. And as Donald Trump stated, in his presidential, he's planning to defund Planned Parenthood. But these clinics are high quality, affordable health care for women and men and young adults, because within a year, Planned Parenthood provided more than 270,000 pap tests and more than 360,000 breast exams and more than 4.2 million tests and treatments for sexually transmitted infections. So, in conclusion, I feel like we should favor, or we should argue that Planned Parenthood or these clinics should be funded or should have legal access for everybody. They shouldn't be defunded or disbanded, because these clinics are in favor of us and they're affordable and they're for young adults. As they stated in their website, they have no limits, no reservations for anybody who comes in, since it's affordable and it's helping educate us on providing us of their service. Thank you.
So Dante, what did you think?
The introduction was
a little vague at first, because first you talk about the year, then you talk then you talk about the presidential election, which like I was okay with, but then you went straight to Hillary Clinton and her one of the what's it called? I can't remember. Women's health club. And you went straight to that. You kept a steady pace, but you kept looking around it everywhere, and you kept looking back at your notes, and you kept staying there. You kept a great posture. You kept a very great detail, but you didn't really support. I mean, you kept using Hillary Clinton as your main support, but you didn't really give me any other contributors to help support for their facts and detail, which again, they were very good and great examples. Plus, you keep adding us and young adults. And again, this is supporting women. And I'm not trying to say I'm not putting anything. I mean, this is supporting women, and if it was supporting all, then I didn't hear any example for the male or that contributes. But overall, it was very informative, and you kept a nice steady pace. So, again,
All right, it takes a long time to get to the point, and I think you need to get there a little bit quicker. I didn't even understand what your second question was when you were asking us to respond to your survey. You know, it was so vague and open-ended that it's not clear what it is you're talking about. It's not until we're 2 minutes into the speech that it finally comes down to the election seems to have been about Planned Parenthood, funding or defunding Planned Parenthood, or at least that's what your speech is about. I think that there's this background assumption here that because people want to defund Planned Parenthood, that there's not going to be a right to access. I think you need to explain why Planned Parenthood is essential to access. Where's the information that says people wouldn't have access to birth control except for Planned Parenthood? I don't know what percentage of the population goes to Planned Parenthood. I mean, I know that apparently 4 million of them go and get an STD test, and 360,000 of them get some kind of breast examination, and 270,000 have some kind of Pap test that's provided. So that's what's going on there. But outside of that, I'm going, well, that's not a big chunk of the population. So, the population, if it's 340 million, 120 million, probably about 120 million women, and let's say that out of that 120 million women, that 80 million of them are sexually active. So what percentage of them need access to Planned Parenthood to get information about contraception or about health services or any of those sorts of things? The only place that you provide any information about that is right at the end. There's no discussion about whether or not there are alternative places for information. One of the things that I don't understand is, well, how big a budget does Planned Parenthood have? And how much of it comes from the federal government? If Planned Parenthood has a budget of $1 billion a year, and the federal government gives them $2 million a year, I don't think defunding it from the federal level is going to make much of a difference. On the other hand, if Planned Parenthood's budget is $500 million a year, and 450 million of that comes from the federal government, then I understand why defunding it is a big problem. But I don't get any background information on that. You're not telling me how significant this funding is to the existence of Planned Parenthood, and you're not telling me how important Planned Parenthood is to the benefits that you're talking about. And that's the argument that you're making here. And it just becomes about, well, Hillary thinks it's a great idea, so, well, I'm glad that she feels that way, but I think that you need to make a broader argument, one that's going to be convincing to people who are saying, okay, well, what has Planned Parenthood done for anybody? And I'm going, by the way, you're talking to this audience. Everybody in here has access to birth control and the very test that you've talked about, because they all have to pay a student health fee. And they go right over there. They don't need Planned Parenthood. So they're going to be sitting there going, well, what do I get from this? You need to talk about who it is that needs access. There are poor women out there who don't have access. There are, like you said, people who are young who aren't going to school that might need to have access to these sorts of things. That Planned Parenthood is an important source of this information. Make an argument for Planned Parenthood as opposed to making an argument against defunding Planned Parenthood. Tell us first why we need to have it before you tell us why defunding it is a bad idea. That's, I think, what you need to do more in your speech. Presentation, I think, is pretty good. You look at us for the most part. There are gestures and you're engaged. I do think your vocal variety needs to be a little bit more up-tempo, and sometimes you just... you're a quiet person to begin with anyway, so I mean, I'm not expecting you to be raving or ranting, but sometimes it just seems like you're so passive when you're talking about this, and you need to be a little bit more energetic and forceful, and you're backing into an argument instead of leading the charge on the argument. All right, thank you.